gotta own it, baby. So you can own your square. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. Welcome to this beautiful Wednesday. Welcome to Center Square. Are you ready to take center square in your life? Hey, I got a question for you. Are you living your life right now on autopilot? Do you wish you had a GPS to take you into another destination or maybe even another direction? That's because from time to time, we all lose our place in life, right? So how can you become unstuck? How can you find that road that will resonate with you, achieve your goals, live your wildest dreams, and, be successful? Because we only have one life to live, right? Why don't we start going on that path and stop stopping ourselves? Hey, listen, taking center square today is Penelope. She is a guide. She is the guide. She is a spiritual leader, and she has helped many people overcome limiting beliefs and reshaping old stories. And I am so happy to have Penny join me on the show today.
Hi, everyone.
Hello. Welcome to the show, Penny. Oh, it's so great to have you here. And, thank you for being with us. This is a time for people to reset their goals, recheck in with themselves and say, am I on the path I want to be, right?
Correct. I think COVID helped that along the way.
Yes, COVID helped a lot of people. It hurt a lot of people, but it helped a lot of people take that pause and say, oh my gosh, no, I was not doing it the right way, or I am doing it the right way, or no, I want to do it the right way. So, it's all about uncovering what's authentic to us so we can live our truest life. So I want to ask you, because you help a lot of people. You are a guide. You are a gifted woman. You have a gift. And I want to know, how can we lose our fear? Because I feel like as children, we're fearless. And then we start to layer on fear, right?
Yes, I think experientially in our lifetimes, we go through different traumas, different changes. I think most currently, as I mentioned with COVID, it literally stopped people in their tracks. Many people lost their work, they lost their finances, and it has to recalculate and recalibrate people's direction and their path.
Yeah, so absolutely. And a lot of us are stuck. So what is it about COVID has made us look very fearful, I feel, right? I mean, you talk to people all the time that are afraid, right?
Well, out of fear can come awakenings. Out of fear it could actually propel us forward to change the patterns that we've fallen into unconsciously without even realizing it. I think people become engrossed in whatever their day-to-day is, and they're not really paying attention to their inner self, what's really happening within them. A lot of people are unhappy inside, and they keep doing the same thing over and over again, and they keep getting the same results.
Yes, they do. And I am wondering, why do we keep repeating the same stories over and over again?
I think human nature is to continue to do the same thing because it's comfortable. Changing the pattern, changing the story immediately is an uncomfortable process. And the bottom line is it actually frees us to have joy and happiness when we do break through that pattern. We're creatures of habit. And the
Yeah,
idea is
I
to
agree.
break the habits.
And here's the thing. I believe that we all have a fear that we are walking around with in life, probably from childhood. And I've heard so often that life leaves clues, if you really can pay attention to them. But everybody has a story that I think a through line, right? Just like when you're watching a movie, the story might have a through line to it.
Yes.
Everybody has a through line to their life. And my personal story was never feeling good enough and having fear of the camera, but then overcoming it and triumphing and being on camera, but then having that moment again when I fell backwards. So how can people stop falling back into the old stories that they, how can they get rid of these stories for good? Because it's
Well,
time to live now.
the time is certainly, I think this past year has been evident of people really having to face down those demons. And what we fear, we actually need to revere. What we fear is what we have to embrace, because that's the very lesson we bump into. And once we conquer that fear, it frees us to go forward. It's acknowledging that it exists that's the most important. I think it's part of the process people is to help them identify what's holding them back. And a lot of times people don't even know that consciously. They're just going along and plugging along and having the same deep feelings inside of being stuck. And there's no such thing. We can get stuck, but we have to also know we can free ourselves once we identify that. Nothing
Absolutely.
is
You help people free themselves. You help people see themselves. You have a gift. And I would love to know the story. I want to know your story, Penny. You had mentioned to me off camera that you actually were very shy growing up, right?
absolutely. I still am. I'm a very brave coward. I do things now in spite of. That's part of my facing fear and getting unstuck, which is the very thing that I fear is the very thing I have to come head to head with. And I have to not allow it to stop me. That's the lesson. We all have lessons that we are supposed to be paying attention to.
Oops. I don't know. I'm sorry. My phone, that must have been the spirits. They just,
There you
my
go.
phone took off. Penny, I absolutely agree with you. If you don't face fear, it will keep resurfacing. It'll keep resurfacing, and it'll get you. It'll bite you. So,
Right.
So how did you? I'd love to talk about your wonderful gift of spirituality and how you help people. Would you be willing to share that with us?
Sure. I also want to make clear that everyone is capable of tapping into their own spiritual ability. And what they're not paying attention to, many times they are being given guidance that they either think it's just a hunch or they think it's just a thought, when in fact they're being guided and they're not listening to it that way. So it's not just me, I'm just more fine-tuned in allowing it and the information to come, but I believe everyone is capable, which is part of my my teaching. Teaching people to pay attention to the signs, pay attention to what they're hearing, what they're experiencing, because it's like fine-tuning an old radio. Once you turn that knob and finally get the clarity of what the message is, I believe we are all capable of doing that.
Yes, I agree. And I've been working on my own spiritual journey over the last couple of years, and I wasn't even aware. I never thought growing up. I always thought I was never really opinionated, if you will. And I think it made total sense that I became a reporter because I could easily see both sides of an issue and not
Right.
take a stance either way. So even in recent political elections and everything, my friends would be all chatting about one thing, one way or the other, and I would just kind of sit there, sort of in the middle, because I'm used to towing that line of I could see a little bit of this side and I could see a little bit of that side, but I guess maybe as I look back, I'm like that. Thought of me not being opinionated when I was growing up, I mean, maybe that was a clue that I saw the world. I saw the world in a wider perspective. I don't know. I think that life leaves clues, though, for sure, for us, right?
Well, you, especially with what you just said about you being a reporter, if I'm not mistaken, reporters aren't really allowed to have opinions. They're reporting what the facts are of whatever story they're telling. They're not being hired to give their opinion.
Thank you for saying that, Penny, because, I hate to say the word bastardized, but, news has been bastardized over the years, and it's become very blurry. And you're right. You're trained to cover the news and not, give your commentary.
And look great on camera, might I add. Look great on camera.
I'm getting my hair done right after this live shot, by the way. And it's a humid day here in Connecticut. But I think it's so important to help people realize that we have everything we need inside of us to help ourselves, right? To help
Well,
ourselves.
yes. A
Yeah.
lot of people are looking so far away and so far in advance that they're losing the moments of the lessons in the right now. They are so far ahead of themselves, and that creates anxiety and it creates pressure. And they're losing the moment. They're losing the today, the moment now. And I think that's part of paying attention to what I said earlier about you're getting signs, you're getting information every day, every moment. Excuse me. And if you are present, you will hear that more clearly. If you are so in advance and so what's going to happen next year, what's going to happen next week, you're not in the moment. So you're losing quality information, quality energy.
And I feel like that information was really, really resonates with me because in this process of writing my book, I am starting to look around and starting to get a little anxious about maybe I'm not doing it fast enough or looking around at my competition, this and that. But then when I can get out of that mode and just be in the moment, it is the happiest place for me because then everybody, though, correct me if I'm wrong, everybody has a path in life, a karmic path in life.
Absolutely.
What does it
Absolutely.
mean?
We're all here for a reason.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And no two people have the identical path. It's an individual path. And even if you're in a partnership, you could be a parallel path with someone, but they have theirs and you have yours. And I think the reason there's so much divorce is because people keep trying to connect their paths when they're supposed to stay on their own lane.
Amen. Well, we have a question here from Lorraine, one of our viewers. She says, what are some good techniques for living in the moment? How can you let go, Penny?
Well, there's many different ways for people who, some people resonate with yoga, meditation, just breathing, stopping, taking a deep breath, closing your eyes, and centering your core, centering the mid part of your body to ground yourself. Most of that being ahead of yourself is from anxiety. It's about grounding oneself, and everyone has different ways of doing that. Some people chew bubble gum. I mean, every person's individual.
Yeah, when you say grounding yourself, you bring up something that I was grappling with when I personally went through a divorce a few years ago. And at the time, I was just, losing my identity and as a married woman. And, it was so hard for me to say, like, well, who am I? What do I want? What are my core values? But that's when I started the journey of let's get really solid and grounded with feeling what it is like to be me. And I think people are afraid to get to know themselves sometimes because it can be scary, right?
Absolutely. And I also think in partnerships, I keep going back to COVID, but I think a lot of the concern that people had was being in close quarters with their partners, which was not a normal experience. There was a lot of conflict about knowing which lane to stay into. And even in relationships, we are not meant to have the experience for your partner. We're allowed to be participants and watch them grow, but we can't do the work for them. They have to do it themselves.
Yeah, we always want to rescue someone, but and when people are hurting, there is always that we want to be able to just wave the magic wand, get rid of the problem. But when it comes to anything in life, anything worth achieving is worth taking those actionable steps because you can wish all you want, but if you actually don't put that wish into action, you're not going to get anywhere. And it drives me crazy a little bit when people complain that, oh, I just haven't, reached this, that, or the other thing. And then it's like looking at it, well, what have you tried and what has failed? And are you continuing to try, and you always have to continue to try every single day, right?
Absolutely. But you also bump it, at least what I try to explain to people is if you keep trying something and if it's not working, then you're not meant to be achieving that particular goal that you're working on. You need to reevaluate what it is that you are going after. And I feel that we hit walls. I've had this myself. You hit a wall when you're doing something that you're not actually supposed to be doing. And there are messages coming at us every day saying, if it's hard, maybe you need to reevaluate why it's so hard. And if you keep trying and it's not working, you need to step back and think, what's the next thing I could be doing here? Instead of constantly hitting your head against the wall. A lot of people do that. And I've been guilty of that myself. And then I realized, well, wait a minute, maybe it's not my job to be doing this. Maybe I need to step back. The stepping back is the centering.
Solid advice, because everyone right now, I think, is feeling a little displaced, is trying to scramble of what's my next move, and I was guilty of this all last year because I was like, oh my God, I have this camera confidence course and now everyone's on Zoom and how do I get the word out about me? And it's like I can almost give myself heart palpitations, and I think I did.
Sure.
But it's super counterproductive. It's super counterproductive.
But one of my favorite lines that I've used with people in the past year and a half is that this is not a dress rehearsal. This is the real deal.
Yeah.
And I do believe in reincarnation, and I do believe we come back, and if we haven't learned lessons from the last time, it comes back even harder the next time. And I do believe in that firmly, that we have lessons that we are meant to be going through in this lifetime. Not a dress rehearsal. We need to do whatever it is we're supposed to be doing and allowing that spiritually to take off. And many times it's just about the belief system and knowing that there is a reason for everything. The good experiences, the bad experiences, we're supposed to be learning from these to catapult us forward.
I think that's great. And it's so important to learn, every time maybe you get hit down or something bad happens, to realize that there's a lesson that you need to learn, and then this will help you move to the next step, which is it's a hard lesson sometimes because and also I feel so bad for I feel bad for people that have been on this journey over the last year and several months with COVID, alone, living alone, waking up alone, with their friends and family, not wanting to see them because of COVID. And you know what? You have to have such inner strength to be able to get through every single day, to be able to pick yourself up and say, there's going to be light. There's going to be light.
Absolutely. But that loneliness is also being with self and being with oneself and forcing people to take stock of what that means for them, each individual. Some people love being on their own during COVID and love the peace and quiet and really made the best of that time to get in touch with their inner artist. Or I became a cook during COVID. I love to cook all of a sudden. I wasn't aware of being that person before. So there were different things that came up for people that they were never even aware of, that they possibly showed an interest or to learn something new. I think that's the most important part of our conversation today, being open for new, being open to learn, not to stop in a box of something that's wrapped just perfectly, and opening that box and being open to add things to the box. That's very important.
Absolutely. Hey, Gabriella, thanks for joining us. I'm one who loves it. Yeah, I love Gabriella's spirit. If you have questions for Penny, please write them in the comments, because Penny is quite a gifted woman. And, Penny, I want to talk about that a little bit, because I think you're being a little shy here, but tell me the story of how you are able to cultivate gifts to be able to help others, because you're an amazing woman. And we all want to know, there's always a mystery surrounding that. I'd love to know more about that.
Well, that's very sweet of you, Pat. I'm going to just put you in my pocket and go everywhere with you. You're very affirming for me. I was a very, very shy child, and my gift, my ability to hear information and process things was something that gradually happened as I got older. When I was in my teenage years, I really didn't want to know half the stuff that I was picking up on. I felt like it was none of my business. I'd walk into a situation with a group of people and I'd hear information. It came as a thought. And I think, why am I thinking these things? Why are these things coming to me? I would feel people's illnesses. I would actually pick up, I would walk into a subway car and a train, and all of a sudden I'd feel this horrific energy of anxiety come over me. And I thought it was me, not realizing that I was empathic and I was picking up on the energy around me. And I truly believe we are all receptors of that kind of energy, whether it's conscious or unconsciously. We can walk into a room and actually pick up on the energy, and we may think it's us when in fact it's the person standing right next to you.
Oh, yes. I believe that wholeheartedly because, when you're in the energy of someone that you don't resonate with, it's like a void. It really is a void.
Oh, yeah. And you could actually feel sick and think it's you when in fact it's the person sitting next to you in a restaurant, or the person. I was picking up on people around me and I would have anxiety about it, thinking, what the hell is wrong with me? Why am I feeling or hearing this? And I really tried to avoid it. But as we were talking about fear before, the very thing I feared, I actually had to face down and realize that I was picking up and hearing stuff because I was the person who was supposed to be paying attention to that.
And maybe that's why, yeah, you were born with this shyness because you needed to listen. You
Well,
needed.
the very thing being on this kind of show, if I had a couple of hours of sleep, that would have been a miracle last night. It's constantly the light on top of my head, and having that attention. I have to adjust myself to not feel intimidated by that. Every single time I have to do something publicly, this happens to me. And it's just the way I roll. I've just come to the conclusion it's the way I roll. And if I don't get it, my sister will tell me, my best friends will tell me, and I have my amazing support system to remind me, knock it off. This is what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah. So, I've heard also that, well, because I teach people how to get over this and I got over this, but, have your freak out moments, give yourself time to worry because everyone's going to, oh, what's going to happen? I always say visualize success because I always visualized me choking up and then I choked up.
Absolutely.
Why did I do that to myself so long ago? I'm so mad at myself because I just wish that I had some coaching back then,
Well, being mad at yourself, how is that working for you? I understand.
Well, it was my karmic journey. I'm convinced now it was my karmic journey, but I think that boy, did I suffer for over 20 years, and
it's really very difficult. And I'm even with me being very spiritually correct and being in tune with my own psychic availability and whatever messages that I get, I'm still human. I still have my own process. I still have my own lessons in life that I have to do separate from that part of my being. It's not my total self. We all have variants in our lives that we have to deal with things at different times. I happen to be very busy doing the work that I do now, but I still have a separate part of myself as being a human and going through my own lessons in life. I think that humbles me, though, because I've used my lessons, my pain, my shyness, my suffering. I use that in paying it forward to helping others deal with that.
Yeah, you are very giving, and I was going to say, like, a lot of times it's hard for us to know how we can help ourselves. So I wanted to ask you, is it easier for you to help other people or to help yourself?
I've always been, in 40 years of working in healthcare, my primary work always was about helping other people. It's no mistake that I fell into healthcare of all that was the more acceptable work to do as a healer. And I didn't go around telling everybody that I was a healer. I just did healing work without having a title on it. You understand?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think it's always easier to see the hump on someone else's back. I had to learn as I got older how to apply that to self.
Yes. And I think it's a lesson that we all need right now. So how do you work with people? I'm assuming you do a bunch of Zoom, you do group Zoom.
Yes, since COVID, I didn't even know what a Zoom was. I thought it was just a sound when the car went by. I really have no idea. I've learned more things technologically since COVID. For me, I missed the personal interaction with people. I always spoke to people face to face. But I have to say that this new technology has given me an allowance to see people from all over the world, which I would not have had that allowance. So I'm so appreciative of that ability to be able to reach out that way.
Amen. And I have to say, it was a gift to me as well, because I've met people all over the entire world, and I've helped people in Switzerland, in California,
Yeah,
all over the place. And I would have never had that opportunity had COVID not happened, because just like you, I was never on Zoom before.
right,
I never had
right.
to do a Zoom. There was no reason for me to do a Zoom, or, they had the conferencing equipment at companies, but rarely did they use it. Or if they did, the person was always hiding behind the camera, the one person on screen and all the other people. But yeah, so it has been a gift. And I think that people now want to get back on their path. They want to get redirected to what is next in their lives. But what do you think, like, the top 2 or 3 tips would be right now to reassess and to, straighten yourself out?
Well, the word for the day is rebirth. My
Ah,
word is about rebirth. This has given us an opportunity, all of us, to reevaluate, rebirth ourselves, give us an opportunity to check out other venues, other opportunities, desires, fantasies about what you would have done had you have had the time. We have the time now.
yeah.
So it's rebirthing what I wish I could have. If I had another chance, I would have. This is the would have. This is the time. No better time than now.
This is the do-over. The
We
do-over,
have a do-over.
the time for do-overs is now. And just like you, Penny, I don't want to see people not live the life that they're meant to live, by hiding in fear for some reason. And when you can see that change or see that hope in someone, it's just worth it, isn't it?
Well, for me, it's such an honorable situation for me to be asked to come into somebody's space and their persona. It's such an honor for people to trust my energy in their space and to help them. This is such a personal, it's like rebirthing people. I'm like a midwife. I'm trying to come into a situation and help them give an opportunity to themselves to reevaluate their path in the direction that they're on. And that's something that makes me incredibly humble, but also to see it happen, to hear the success stories of people really doing the work, taking the time, allowing themselves, people in their 60s going back to school online, learning new trades. This has been an amazing opportunity to watch these rebirths happen for people. And what an honor. And I love saying I told you so. That's one of my favorite. I love saying I told you so. So
Yeah.
there's no one, no age that limits us to that growth. There's no number, there's no reasoning other than allowing ourselves to go forward and really take on the challenges and going up against whatever stops us.
I love it. And just so, how does it work for someone that maybe is not that familiar with the type of work you do? someone calls you, and do they have to tell you about themselves, or like how does the process go?
It really depends. Every individual carries their own story. There's no two stories alike. So people that call me who I don't even know their last name, I have no frame of reference. Energetically, I'll connect, I'll ask them a couple of questions in the beginning, and then it's a repartee. We go back and forth, and I will say, does this make sense to you? If not, it's okay. Just say, sometimes people block and they say, no, no, no. And then within 5 or 10 minutes, they go, oh, wait a minute. Oh, that's right. So it's getting past however thick the wall is of protectiveness. People carry a lot of self-protection. They don't want anybody. It's a very intimate moment, by the way. I'm very intimate with a lot of people. And I take that very, very seriously.
Well, I so appreciate learning more about what it is exactly that you do, because I think overall you spread hope and you spread joy and you spread love and you have a good heart. And that's an amazing thing, because we need more great hearts in this world.
There are some amazing hearts out there. Pat, I've been so lucky, so fortunate. There are angels out there with 2 legs running around doing amazing, wonderful things for people that unfortunately we don't hear on the news every day. There are some unbelievable stories out there of people's success and giving and generosity. I'm just very, very lucky to hear it on a more intimate level. I'm very, very fortunate.
Well, thank you so much, Penny, for your time. And if you want to get in touch with Penny, just leave a comment, or you can reach out to me, message me, and I'll put you in touch with Penny. And I want to thank you so much for your time today, because we all need a boost. We need a lift. And if those angels that are walking on earth need visibility, you tell them to come right here to Center Square.
Bring it to Center Square. We'll get you straight.
I will welcome anybody that wants to help others on this show. So, Penny, thank you so much. Is there anything else that I didn't ask you that you think that you really want to mention about the work you do? Or
I am one of quite a large group of people that probably go or fly under the radar, that truly want to help people on a much higher level, get them on their spiritual path. And I believe that everybody that was surrounded by our friends, our family members, are the lessons that we need to take along to get back on that path. I feel that we need to embrace the people around us, the good, the bad, the ugly. We have to embrace all of it as a lesson. And just really know that, again, this is not the end of the story. It's just the beginning.
oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, Penny, thank you so much for joining me today on Center Square. You be well, and we'll check in with you again. And God bless.
God bless you, and thank you so much.
Oh, cheers. And I want to also thank you all for joining me today on Center Square. I hope that you received value out of the interview with Penny. I try to bring people to you that will help you out, because it's the kind of time in life where you need to take center stage in your life with your profession, with your dreams, with your goals. No holding back anymore. I'll see you next week on Center.